හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Friday, the 22nd of September 2023. Towards growth, President pledges UN to lead Sri Lanka towards a sustainable recovery.
The reforms I have since initiated have been directed towards rebuilding trust and confidence between the people and the government.
Calls on the UN to expand the composition of the UN Security Council.
Unfortunately, the Security Council has failed to give priority to these connected issues of climate change, debt relief and sustainable development.
Ratification. Sri Lanka reaffirms its commitment to nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Vigilance. Health experts assure of no threat to Sri Lanka from the Nipah virus, however requests the public to remain vigilant. Tensions. Parliament heats up for a second day with the Easter Sunday tax debate.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to AdaDerana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story tonight, addressing the 78th United Nations General Assembly in New York, President Ranil Wickremesinghe pledged that he intends to lead Sri Lanka towards sustainable recovery and growth, benefiting all segments of society and ensuring peace, prosperity and reconciliation. Delivering his statement, President Wickremesinghe highlighted the greater urgency to mobilize climate finance and called on developed countries to do their part and fulfill what they agreed to in terms of tackling climate change. He also added that the need for global solidarity to restructure the international financial architecture is paramount in order to address globally existing challenges. Further, the head of state said that the UN Security Council has failed to give priority to issues of climate change, debt relief and sustainable development, and called for an expansion in the composition of Security Council to be representative of current global diversity and decision-making. President Ranil Wickremesinghe addressed the UN General Assembly in New York around 10 p.m. Sri Lanka time yesterday, reflecting on the theme of rebuilding trust and reigniting solidarity and its relevance to Sri Lanka's recent challenges.
At this time last year, amidst multiple global crises, Sri Lanka was experiencing its most challenging period in recent times, socially, economically and politically, which had a devastating impact on people's lives. Even our democratic traditions were threatened by attempts to occupy our parliament and bring it to a halt. Nevertheless, we succeeded in bringing about a democratic political transition due to our deeply entrenched and resilient democratic traditions. Restoring to the regraduation of Sri Lanka's economy, coupled with the gift of fertilizer from the United States government, which led to a bumper harvest, has assisted us in ensuring stability during that period. The reforms I have since initiated in the economic, financial, institutional and reconciliation fronts have been directed on the one hand towards rebuilding trust and confidence between the people and the government, and on the other towards laying the foundation for economic stabilization and recovery. Sri Lankans are already witnessing the positive outcomes of these measures in their daily lives and the revival of confidence internally and externally in the progress of the country. It is my intention to lead the country towards sustainable and stable recovery and growth, which will benefit all segments of Sri Lankan society in all parts of the country, ensuring a future of peace, prosperity and reconciliation for the present and future generations of women and men. In reaching this goal, we will be accompanied by the support, trust and solidarity of our own people and of the international community. We see a world where former big power rivalries and geopolitical tensions have reignited in open war, overlapping with new theaters of conflict and tension on land and in the oceans. Security alliances have expanded and recent arrangements have been formed to deal with strategic threats perceptions in old and new theaters of conflict. North-South divisions are widening with the digital divide, the financial and debt crisis, and the energy transition. Contrary to the promise of 2030, today we are seeing levels of poverty and hunger not witnessed in decades. Neutral, non-aligned countries of the global south, such as Sri Lanka, are once again constrained in between new global power configurations, facing those who do not respect the sovereignty of our nations. As a climate-vulnerable developing country in debt crisis, the urgency to mobilize climate finance is greater today than it was ever before. However, despite promises made to which we were all witnesses, the rich countries are not delivering to expectation. Developed countries must do their part and fulfill what they agreed, assume their share of the common but differentiated responsibility, provide assistance for mitigation and adaptation and compensation for loss and damage. National efforts alone will not suffice to ensure the success of the SDGs and reverse climate change. The need for global solidarity to restructure international financial architecture is paramount. If we are unable to restructure the global fiscal order, then certainly we will fail in the struggle to reverse climate change and achieve the SDG goals. There is still time for course correction as the crisis has not reached its peak. This must be the priority of the General Assembly. We cannot afford to allow divisions to drive focus away from this crisis. Unfortunately, the Security Council has failed to give priority to these connected issues of climate change, debt relief, and sustainable development. This impacts the future of the mankind. The survival of the planet must be our priority. We cannot afford to go into this war with a divided high command. The future of all species on the globe is dependent on our ability to put aside our rivalries until this crisis is solved. The composition of the Security Council must be expanded to be representative of current global diversity and decision making. In parallel, the role of the UN General Assembly must be strengthened. We are asking that the permanent members engage in a credible dialogue which will lead to a unified approach to combat these threats ahead of the next sessions. This international system is today undergoing vast changes. At the same time, it's been confronted with unprecedented challenges. We come to the United Nations to demonstrate solidarity in arriving at common solutions. What is at stake is not the future of the United Nations, but our planet as a whole. Member states will need to find new ways of working together despite increasing mistrust that has permeated international relations.
Now, following further updates of the President's visit to the United States, President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with US President Joe Biden. In a separate meeting, the head of state also met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. On the sidelines of the 78th United Nations General Assembly, President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended a dinner hosted by US President Joe Biden, gathering all the heads of state who had participated in the UNGA. During the dinner, the Sri Lankan head of state met with US President Joe Biden and held a cordial discussion. According to the President's media division, both the presidents engaged in an insightful conversation touching upon various topics of global importance. Following their discussions, the presidents joined their fellow heads of state for a group photograph symbolizing the spirit of international cooperation. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe also met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the UN headquarters in New York. Now, meanwhile, Sri Lanka reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation by announcing its ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Joining a press briefing hosted by the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization held yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Council Ali Sabri said that Sri Lanka will be hosting the next on-site inspection integrated field exercise in 2025, bringing together 180 technical experts and participants from across the globe.
Sri Lanka's recent ratification of the treaty is in accordance with our strong and consistent policy on nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Sri Lanka was amongst the first signatories of the CTBT in October 1996, just days after the treaty became open to signature, and was the 13th country to sign a facility agreement with the CTBTO in 1996, pursuant to which an auxiliary seismic station was established in Pallekele, Kandy. Since its adoption in 1996, we have have actively supported the work of CTBTO, including regular interaction with on-site inspection division. Sri Lanka is pleased to host the next on-site inspection OSI integrated field exercise in 2025, which will bring together 180 technical experts and other participants from around the globe. This exercise will serve as a vital opportunity to enhance CTBTO's on-site inspection capabilities and identify further improvement opportunities. Prior to entry into the force of treaty, Sri Lanka reaffirms its strong commitment to the treaty's objectives and regards the treaty as our best guarantee against nuclear proliferation and for our collective security against nuclear threat.
Now, with 2 people in Kerala reported dead after being infected by the deadly Nipah virus, the Ministry of Health says that Sri Lanka isn't threatened by an outbreak yet. The Ministry of Health further added that test kits to detect the Nipah virus are yet to be received by authorities within the next few days. According to the World Health Organization, the mortality rate of the virus stands at 40% to 75%. However, a vaccine has not yet been developed to fight the deadly virus. Following the third wave in 2018, the fourth wave of the fatal Nipah epidemic has broken out in Kerala, India, with 6 cases being reported in August. Of the 6 reported cases, 2 fatalities have been reported so far by Indian authorities. The 2 deaths were reported from Calicut in Kerala. Accordingly, schools and offices in high-risk areas were closed and checkups for the disease are currently being carried out in large scale to detect new cases. According to the Indian media, 1,080 close associates of people who contracted the disease have already been identified. The Nipah virus is a bat-borne virus with a high mortality rate which can be transmitted to humans and other animals. The virus can spread to people from direct contact with infected animals such as bats or pigs, or through their bodily fluids such as blood, urine or saliva. Further, consuming food products contaminated by bodily fluids of infected animals can also lead to the spread of the virus. In the event that the virus infects a person, symptoms of fever, muscle pain and signs of respiratory illness such as cough and sore throat may appear within 4 to 14 days. According to the World Health Organization, when conditions worsen, it will also affect the brain.
වවුලෙක්ගෙන් ඇති වෙන සික්‍රීෂන් එක තියෙන පළතුරක් මිනිහෙක් අනුභව කරොත් මිනිහයාට ඒ රෝගය ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඌරන්නොත් මේ සික්‍රීෂන් වලට ගොදුරු වුණොත් මේ ආසාදනය ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඌරන්ගෙන් නැවත වාරයක් මේ ශ්‍රාවයන් එළියට එන්න පුළුවන්. ශ්‍රාවයන් එක්ක වෛරසය එළියට එන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ නිසා අපි ඌරන් ලෙඩ වෙලා ඉන්නව නම් සහ වවුලන දෂ්ට කරපු පළතුරු ඒවා කෑමෙන් වළකින්න ඕන. මෙතනින් තමයි මිනිහයාට එන්නේ. මිනිහයාට ආවට පස්සේ මිනිහයාගෙන් මිනිහයාටත් බෝ වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
The deadly virus claims a mortality rate of 40 to 75%. However, there is no treatment available for the virus yet.
Treatment options කියලා දැනට අපිට විශේෂිත treatment options නැහැ. අපි කරන්නේ රෝග ලක්ෂණ බලලා ප්‍රතිකාර කරන එක.
ඌරු කොටු වල වැඩ කරන ෆාම් වල වැඩ කරන වගේ අයට ඌරන් සික් වෙලා ඉන්නවනම් ලෙඩෙක් ගාවට කිට්ටු වෙනකොට වගේ අඳින්න තියෙන කට්ටල සියල්ල මැඳලා ෆේස් ෂීල්ඩ් එකක් දාලා ඒ වගේ ගිහිල්ලා ඒව අතපත ගාලා ඒ කටයුතු කරනවා නම් සුදුසුයි. දැන් ඔය ට්‍රැවලින් කරනකොට විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් කෑරළ ඉන්දියාව වගේ පැත්තකට යනවා නම් ඒවයි ගියාම පළතුරු වගේ දේවල් ආහාරයට ගන්නව නම් අපි ඒව ඉතා සෝදලා බලලා වවුලෙක් වගේ දෂ්ට කරලා තියෙදි කියලා බලලා ඒව ආහාරයට ගන්න එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
සතුන්ගේ මාංශ ආහාරයට ගන්න එකේ සම්බන්ධව මොකක් හරි තියෙනවද?
මොන කෑම කෑවත් අපි උයලනේ කන්නේ. ඕන වෛරසයක් විනාශ වෙනවා හොඳට කෑම ඉවොතින්.
සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයක් වශයෙන් අපි මේකට සූදානම් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය නිර්දේශ කරපු මේ වෛරසය අඳුනා ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය විශේෂිත කට්ටල ගෙන්වා ගැනීම සඳහා සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශය දැනටමත් පියවර අරන් තියෙනවා. නොබෝ දිනකින් අපිට ඒවා ලැබෙනවා.
තවම අපිට එහෙම රටට විශාල අවදානමක් තියෙන තත්ත්වයක් කිසිසේත්ම මේ තත්ත්වය තුල ඇති වෙලා නැහැ. ඒක නිසා නියත බියක් මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඇති කර ගැනීම කිසිසේත්ම අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
However, experts studying the virus highlighted that a vaccine for the virus has not been developed yet. Now, in further local updates, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa reiterated his calls for an international investigation on the Easter Sunday attacks, which took place in April 2019. During a heated second-day debate on the Easter Sunday attacks in Parliament, the leader of the National People's Power, Anrukumara Dissanayake, accused former President Maithripala Sirisena of not taking measures to prevent the attack. However, the former president said that he inquired the National Security Council in January 2019 on the delay of arresting Saharan Hashim.
ජමීල් ටාජ් එක පුපුරව ගන්නට ආපු මිනිමරුවා පල්ලියට යනකොට පල්ලියේ සිකියුරිටි ඔෆිසර් හිටපු පොලිස් නිලධාරියෙක් එයා ප්‍රශ්න කරනවා මෙයාගේ ඒ බෝම්බකරු කියනවා නෑ නෑ මම මේ ආවේ මේ පල්ලියේ ආගමික වතාවත් වලට සහභාගී වෙන්න මම මේ ඊයේ ගෙදරින් ආවේ වයිෆ් එක්ක තරහ වෙලා කියලා ඕනනම් වයිෆ්ට කතා කරන්නයි කියලා වයිෆ් ගේ නම්බරේ දෙනවා අර පල්ලියේ සිකියුරිටි ඔෆිසර්ට. අන්නකොට ජමීල්ගේ වයිෆ් කියනවා ඔව් ඒක ඇත්ත මාත් එක්ක තරහ වෙලා තමයි මේ අයියේ ගෙදරින් ආවේ. ඊට පස්සේ සිකියුරිටි ඔෆිසර්ගේ ටෙලිෆෝන් එකට එනවා කෝල් එකක් විනාඩි 10කින් පස්සේ. කවුද? අර ජමීල්ගේ නෝනාගේ ගෙදරට ආපු ආරක්ෂක අංශයේ කියන නිලධාරීන්ගෙන් ඇවිල්ලා අහනවා ජමීල් ළඟ තියාගන්න අපි ඔතනට එනකම්. දැන් මේකේ වැදගත්ම කාරණාව මෙන්න මේකයි. ජමීල් බෝම්බේ පුපුරව ගන්නටත් පෙර ජමීල්ගේ වයිෆ්ගේ ගෙදරට කොහොමද හමුදා බුද්ධ්‍යංශයේ නිලධාරීන් ගියේ? මොකද්ද තිබ්බ සම්බන්ධතාවය? මොකද්ද මේකේ ඇත්ත නැත්? කරලා තිබෙන විමර්ශන වලට අනුව අර බුද්ධ්‍යංශයේ නිලධාරීන් කතා කරපු නම්බර ඒ විශ්ලේෂණය කරලා බලනකොට ඒ සිම් කාඩ්ස් අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ සිලෝන් ෂිපින් අලයන්ස් කියන ආයතනේ. නම්බර 88 බෞද්ධාලෝක මාවත කොළඹ 3. බෞද්ධාලෝක මාවත කොළඹ 3 නෙවෙයි. මේ සිම් කාඩ්ස් අරන් තියෙන්නේ හොර ඇඩ්‍රස් දාලා. ඔබතුමා දන්නවද? සරත් වීරසේකර මහත්තයා කියන නවුෆර් මෞලවි කියන මහමොලකරු ඔය ජනාධිපති කොමිසමට ගෙන්නලවත් ප්‍රශ්න කරලවත් නැහැ කියලා.
සීයා විදියක තමයි ඔබතුමාට වෙලා ඒ අඩුපාඩු ජනාධිපති කොමිසමට ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ නැත්තේ. මේ සජිත්ලාගේ රජය තමයි ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ නැත්තේ. ඒකට අපේ රජයේ පලි නැහැ. ඒකට මම පලි නැහැ. ඒකට මෙතන පට්ටපල් බොරු කියන්න එපා.
මං කියනවා නම් පට්ටපල් බොරුවත් ඒක ගැන විමර්ශනයක් කරන්න. මම බය නැහැ. අනිවාර්යෙන්ම පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය පිළිබඳව ජාත්‍යන්තර පරීක්ෂණයක් ඕන.
හිටපු ජනාධිපති මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මෙම ප්‍රහාරය වළක්වා ගැනීමට අසමත් වූ පාර්ශ්ව ලෙස නිශ්චිත ලෙස සඳහන් කළ යුතුයි. ඇයි? තමන්ගේ පුද්ගලික කෝන්ත්‍ර මත පොලිස්පතිවරයා පර දින 52 කුමන්ත්‍රණයෙන් පසුව ආරක්ෂක මණ්ඩලයට කැඳවන්නේ නැහැ. ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුරු මොනට ගැමියෙක්ද මේ මට තේරෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අගමැතිවරයා ආරක්ෂක මණ්ඩලයට කැඳවන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? තමන්ගේ ඉතාමත් ලදරු බොල් මෙම ප්‍රහාරයට අවශ්‍ය වෙන අරාජිකත්වයක් නිර්මාණය කරා. ඒ වගේම අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහන මේකෙන් අත්හරින්න බෑ. තමන්ගේ ජනාධිපතිවරු ඉහළ බලධාරිය තමන්ගේ වගකීම නිසි පරිදි ඉටු කිරීම සඳහා මට බාධා කරනවා නම් ඔහු මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට කියන්න ඕන. ඔහුත් මොකද කරේ? ඔහුටත් කෙසේ අගමැතිකම තියාගන්න ඕන.
සහරාන් ගැන පිළිබඳව සැකය අපිට තිබුණා. ඔහු ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ඉස්සර වෙලා මේ ප්‍රහාර එල්ල කෙරුවේ රටේ අනිත් ජනතාවට නෙවෙයි. ස්ථානු ඉස්සලම ගැහුවේ කාත්තංගුඩියේ පල්ලියට. ඊට පස්සේ ගැහුවේ කාත්තංගුඩියේ හිටපු මුස්ලිම් මිනිස්සුන්ට. හරියට ප්‍රභාකරන් වගේමයි.
බොහොම පැහැදිලිව මම කියනවා මේ සහරාන් හෂීම්ගේ ව්‍යාපාරය කවුරු හරි දේශපාලන වශයෙන් බලයට පත් කරන්න කටයුතු කරපු ව්‍යාපාරයක් නෙවෙයි. මේක පැහැදිලි ආගමික උම්මාදයකින් මෙහෙවෙච්ච තෞහිද් ජමාත් නැමැති ඒ ආගමික ව්‍යාපාරයෙන් කැඩලා ගිය පිරිසක්. මේ පිරිස 10 අවුරුද්දකට අධික කාලයක් තමන්ගේම ආගමික කණ්ඩායම ඇතුලේ ස්වයන් ප්‍රචණ්ඩ ක්‍රියාවන් වල නියලුණා. ඒ නියලුණාට අපේ බලධාරීන් හෝ වෙනත් අය ඒ අය නතර කරන්න ක්‍රියා කළේ නැහැ. ඒක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් හැටියට තමයි මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය මෙතෙන්ට ගමන් කළේ.
පළවෙනි විවාදෙත් දෙවෙනි විවාදෙත් මේ විවාදෙත් ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම කතා කරපු සෑහෙන පිරිසකගේ ඉලක්කය මාව තමයි මේකට අල්ලගෙන තියෙන්නේ මම තමයි වැරදිකාරයා කියලා. සමහර අය කියනවා ආරක්ෂක මණ්ඩලය මං කැඳවලා හිටන් සහරාන් අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න කිව්වේ නෑලු. සහරාන්ට වරෙන්තුවක් තියෙන්නේ 2017 ඉඳලා. 2017 ඉඳලා වරෙන්තුවක් තියෙන මිනිහා අල්ලන්න ජනාධිපති යන්න ඕනේද? මම 2019 ජනවාරි මාසයේ ආරක්ෂක මණ්ඩලයේදී මම බොහොම පැහැදිලිව ඇහුවා මෙච්චර කියලත් මේ මිනිහව ඇයි තාමත් අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්නේ නැත්තේ කියලා.
IP අබුබකර් ගැන අහලා තිබුණා. IP අබුබකර් කිසිම වෙලාවක සාරා ජෙස්මින්ම වාහනයක දාගෙන පැහැරගෙන ගියා කියන එකට සාක්ෂි නැහැ. විමර්ශන නිලධාරීන්ගේ රිපෝට් එක නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට දුන්නා. මෙයා කිසිම වැරැද්දක් කරලා නැහැ. මෙයාට නඩු දාන්න එපා කියලා. නමුත් මොනවද අවාසනාවකට උනේ? නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් එයාට ඉන්ඩයිට්මන්ට් එකක් දැම්මා. මෙහෙම විමර්ශන නිලධාරීන්ගේ රිපෝට් එක ගණන් ගන්න නැතුව. අන්න ඒකයි ඉන්ටර්ඩික් උනේ.
Now on the same topic of the Easter Sunday attacks, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith highlighted that he is fighting to uncover the truth behind the tragic Easter Sunday attacks on behalf of its victims. He further went on to say that those who are insensitive to the grievances of their fellow brethren are selfish and highlighted that such insensitivities go against the fundamental principles of the religion. The altar blessing ceremony of St. Jude's Church in Mabage was held under the patronage of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjith yesterday.
දැන් ඇයි අපි පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයේ මැරුණ අයගේ අයිතිවාසිකම් වෙනුවෙන් ඒ අයට සත්‍ය සොයා ගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් අපි මෙච්චර දඟලන්නේ ඇයි? අපිට හොඳ ෂේප් එකේ ඉන්න පුළුවන් මේ ආණ්ඩු කරන අය කියන දේවල් පිළි අරගෙන අපිට ඉන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට ඇඟට රිදෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒවා කරේ නැහැ කියලා. එහෙම නෙමෙයි. අපි අපේ සහෝදරයාගේ ජීවිතය ගැන අපි වග කියන්න ඕන. අපි අපේ සහෝදර අසල්වාසීන්ගේ දුක, බඩගින්න, වේදනාව, අසනීපය ඒ ගැන සංවේදී වෙන්නේ නැත්තම් අපි හරි ආත්මාර්ථකාමී. අපි දෙවියන් වහන්සේට විරුද්ධයි.
Now, a stock of 18,765 bottles of foreign liquor which were illegally brought to Sri Lanka were inspected by the Acting Minister of Finance, Ranjit Siambalapitiya. The stock of foreign liquor which is stored in the customs terminal in Orugodavatta has a market value of 170 million rupees. Meanwhile, 5 people in connection with illegal sand mining were apprehended in Trincomalee. With that, here are some developments around the island in brief.
Acting Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya engaged in an inspection of a stock of 18,765 bottles of foreign liquor which were illegally brought to Sri Lanka. The stock of foreign liquor was stored in the customs terminal of Orugodavatta and has a market value of 170 million rupees. Further, the stock of liquor will be presented to liquor license holders at a competitive price in a public auction. Meanwhile, Special Task Force officers in Pulmude apprehended 5 suspects who were engaged in illegal sand mining in the Kuchiveli Coastal Reserve in Trincomalee. The suspects had been transporting sand using a caterpillar machine which reportedly belongs to the Ceylon Mineral Sands Corporation. A 13-year-old was reported dead after drowning in the Kiramoya in Kamulupitiya. The incident had occurred after a group of children had gone for a swim following after-school hockey practice. The 13-year-old had been studying in grade 8 in St. Thomas College in Matara.
For the latest in the world of business, join us on the other side of this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන්කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්.
Welcome back. Now in your local business news, the ASPI closed in green as a result of price gains in counters such as Commercial Bank, John Keel's Holdings and Aitken Spence, with the turnover crossing 1.1 billion rupees. Similar behavior was witnessed in the S&P Sri Lanka 20. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in Melster Corp, John Keel's Holdings and Windforce. Mixed interest was observed in CIC Holdings, Distilleries and Printcare, while retail interest was noted in Brown's Investment, Softlogic and Industrial Asphalts. Foreign participation in the market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net buyers. During the week, the ASPI and Sri Lanka and the S&P Sri Lanka 20 lost 1.8% and 2% respectively, while recording an average daily turnover of 993.2 million rupees. Food and beverage tobacco sector was the top contributor to the market turnover, while the sector index gained 0.74%. With the sector index gaining 0.69%, the capital goods sector was the second highest contributor to market turnover. Now let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange, in partnership with the Securities Exchange Commission, held an investor forum in Anuradhapura recently. Meanwhile, subsequent to his appointment to the governing board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Anushka Sharan Vijayasinghe resigns as the independent non-executive director of Ceylon Bank PLC. Independent non-executive director of Ceylon Bank PLC, Anushka Sharan Vijayasinghe, resigned from the board of the company with effect from the 21st of September. Issuing a statement pursuant to the disclosure provisions of the CSC's listing rules, the company highlighted that the resignation was accepted by Ceylon Bank PLC's board following Anushka Vijayasinghe's nomination and subsequent appointment to the governing board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Abans Electricals PLC issued a statement today stating that all resolutions proposed at its annual general meeting were passed unanimously. The key resolutions included a first and final dividend of 5 rupees per share out of the profit of the year, the re-election of Dinal Mario Rex Phillips, Rajratnam Selvaskandan and Saroshi Dubash as directors of the company. Furthermore, Aban Pistonji was reappointed as the director of the company pursuant to Section 211 of the Companies Act No. 7 of 2007. The Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka and the Colombo Stock Exchange successfully concluded another investor forum in Anuradhapura recently. The forum was organized with the objective of raising awareness on the importance of investor education and investor protection. The forum attracted over 230 participants, including professionals and business communities in the region. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of AdaDerana First at 9. Thank you. Have a great night.